In this video, we will be modeling a sci-fi grip. It's going to include a lot of new tools for you to learn. While it is an example I've specifically designed and modeled for the tutorial, the modeling process is close to my real workflow, so you could learn not only the tools on their own, but also the overall strategy for creating a model. The way I would usually start is by scaling the cube to get the right proportions for our model. But let's imagine we need something a bit more precise. Delete the cube. Select the rectangle tool on the right toolbar. Then we're gonna start in the center of our scene. Press C to make it center symmetrical. Before confirming, press Tab to manually enter the dimensions. Go into the third selection mode for faces. Select the face and then extrude it. You can manually enter the extrusion distance. Let's now select our curve and delete it. Unlike in the previous videos where we used a line to quickly project a cut, right now we are going to use a command called isoparam, or as I call it just by its shortcut, Ctrl-R. It's a very handy tool to create some extra topology. Whenever you start moving or offsetting the faces cut by isoparam, it's gonna create a new geometry based on the initial movement. So if you move it horizontally, it will create a new horizontal face. If moved diagonally, a new diagonal face, or if you rotate it, it's gonna create a new cylindrical face. Let's use a line tool to create a cutter. After you finish it, press C and select the body. Let's Ctrl-R the top face. If it cuts in the wrong direction, you can press Tab. Press Shift-D to duplicate the face below. Move it up and use Match Face. While we could have just filleted the back, let's create something a bit more organic. Press Spacebar to set the work plane, and use Spline Curve tool on the right toolbar. As you can see, it goes through points. Press Tab to change it to Control Point. Now adjust the curve so it would look juicy. One way to make it a part of our body is to extrude the face sideways, then use Match Face and delete the rest. Or we can just use curve and cut our body by selecting the curve, then pressing C and then selecting the body. Because we started precisely, we can specify the radius for the fillets to make them touch each other right in the middle. But I don't want that. Let's try G2. Even though it looks alright, let's try something a bit different. Use Spline Curve. You can press Shift to create guidelines. Let's make it bigger to decrease the chance of any problems when using Match Face later. Time to use Sweep. Select the curve first, open F-Search and search for the sweep, or just press Shift-P. Then select the guideline. Right-click to confirm. Now select the face of our grip, press Match Face and match it to the one we swept. Once we are done, you can delete it. I think it's a bit too thick, no problem, just scale the whole object on one axis. No need for the curve. Delete it. Time to cut the grip. Alt-align camera with an axis. Shift-A for the line. C and select the body to cut. Let's change the thickness by selecting both sides and offsetting by pressing D. Let's quickly learn Isolate. You have 6 objects, you need just 3. Select those and press period key to isolate. Now that we have only 3, what if we need just 1? Select it, press isolate. Let's go back to 3. Deselect everything and press isolate. Need to hide one object? Select it and press H. Unhide everything? Alt H. Back to 6. Again, have nothing selected and press period key. Yeah, it's kinda like layers. Want to remap it? Search for it in the F-Search and bind a custom shortcut. Offset is a param offset offset, nothing new. Side snap the cam. RR to rotate. Select the edge. Fillet it. Nah, let's adjust it more first. Okay, now let's fillet. Remember how we adjusted the fillets in the previous video? Yeah, time to do it again. Don't like it. Let's delete it and redo it. Shift-D the face, move it and use Match Face. Looks decent. Isolate, Ctrl-R, Offset, Ctrl-R, Match Face, nothing new. Fillet both sides. Adjust it. Let's fillet the edges here. Not a big fan of how it looks. The bottom needs to be sharper. After you start the fillet, press V to use variable fillet. You can adjust ends right away or add another point for the custom radius. I don't need it, so I'll use the two ends, nothing more. Let's mirror. Q to merge. I want to add a plate on top. Select top face, extrude, B for new body. Let's cut the unneeded. Let's cut the right part into two and boolean the left one with the top plate. Looking good. Let's now add some details. I'll Ctrl R the side of the plate, move it inwards, offset the top of the lever up, Ctrl snap it to the top. Now let's boolean the top plate out of the lever. Select lever, select top plate, press Q, then press T to keep tools. Play with it by offsetting and moving faces. Great, let's mirror both. Fillet the sides, fillet the top. Now select the front face and press O for offsetting the edge. Let's push it in and then push the top face up until it disappears. Now extrude a new body and offset one more, or you could just do a new rectangle. Offsetting sometimes creates problematic edges when you extrude it, so be aware. It's hard to look at without any color difference. Turn on one of the two bottom left matte caps. Let's set a darker color for the grip body. You can also drag and drop it to the objects in the outliner. Oh, quickly about groups. Let's group everything that's not the main grip by selecting it and pressing Ctrl G. Now, if only the object selection is active, we can select the group by holding Alt and clicking on any object from the group. Also, let's make this thing red. Okay, time to model a bit more. Let's fillet the back side of the grip. I think G1 looks a bit better. Also, a thing to note is everything else other than a color is only visible if you left-click the render icon to activate the render mode. Alt snap the cam to the top, Shift A for a line to cut the thing. Let's adjust the face now to make it look more dynamic. Looks good, but we can go further. Duplicate the edge. Ctrl R on the cut closer to the edge. Duplicate it as well. Use split curve to add a point to the curved one. Now Alt J to make it split into pieces. Let's now sweep the edge using another as a guide. Match face the top part of our cut to the newly created face. Let's now play with it again, offsetting and moving faces. Ctrl R on our curved cut. Offset it. Duplicate the face on the lever. Move it to use as a match face reference. Match it. It's a good idea to use delete redundant topology every now and again, so it would clean the unneeded edges. Let's try to fillet it. Can't go very far with this geometry, so let's adjust it slightly so we could do a wider fillet. Little problem with offsetting here. Let's do another Ctrl R and match face right after. But I think now it looks better with a smaller fillet. It's a good idea to hide edges from time to time to get a better idea of how it might look in the end. So I would suggest you to assign a shortcut to it in the search menu. Let's do a safety switch. Extrude anything anywhere. Success. I want same offset from the edges, so I match both first and then offset them together. Experimenting with fillet radius. Let's chamfer the top side of the lever. Rotate it a bit. More fillets. Rotate the front face. In case the gizmo is not straight, press W to change the gizmo orientation to the world. Mirroring the lever again. Pushing the plate a bit lower. Mirroring the grip. Adjusting the plate's end. Time to work on the back screen. Again, isolate, select the face, O to offset. Delete the top parts that don't go straight up. Now is the cool trick to make it match the top plate's width. Select all the continuous faces by holding Alt. If the wrong face will get the gizmo, deselect the needed one with Ctrl and select it again with Shift. Now use the gizmo and hold Ctrl to snap it to the side of the top plate. QQ to boolean them together. Move the unneeded part to the side. Rotate grip's backside and match the screen plane to it. A fillet here and a small fillet on top. Let's add a bit more protection to the safety switch. Extrude the face sideways as a new body. Offset it up and down, match face to the side of the grip. Duplicate and rotate it 90 degrees. Move down and snap it to the lower edge. Boolean them together. Do a fillet and match it. Boolean it together with the grip with QQ. Delete the unneeded. Let's fix the top with Ctrl R and match face. Let's do a triangle button. Select the grip side, spacebar, use polygon tool, shift scroll to make it a triangle, extrude it out, move and scale it into the place. Select the edges around it by holding Ctrl Alt, fillet the edges, boolean the button out of the grip. Select the grip, select the body, Q and T for keeping the button. Select the edge of the button, C for chamfer distance, A to adjust the angle. Delete the chamfers on the angles. Now fillet those edges. Let's cut the grip in two parts. It's like a battery compartment. Select its side, spacebar. Let's now draw the cutter using Shift-A line tool. Adjust it by selecting and moving the points. To turn a sharp angle point into a spline, double-click on the point or use Convert Vertex in the F search. Adjust it by deleting, adding or moving. You can add a point with Split Curve tool on the right toolbar. Let's connect the lines together. It's not required, but I like to have my lines flat, so it would be more obvious for the software what way to cut with it. So I just scale all of them on one axis to flatten. Now select them all and press J to join them together. Now we can use them as a cutter. Let's scale the part that we cut on one axis to make it a bit slimmer, to make the detail clearly separate. Adjusting the button. Let's use the red color for it. Let's drag and drop the color in the outliner for the safety switch. Or what we could do is create a folder for them, Ctrl G, drag and drop the color onto the folder. Now every material in the folder that doesn't have a color assigned to it will have the material of the folder. For example, this object. But if we assign the material manually, it will ignore the folder's material. Alt-M to delete the material. Let's select those faces and move them in line with the grip detail. Ctrl-Alt-click to select edges around the top plate. Let's now fillet them. Instead of filleting the lever detail to match it, we can just boolean the top plate out of it, and then move the leftovers up until they disappear. Let's now fillet the lever in here. Since we don't really need the fillet all the way there, we can delete whatever we can so it wouldn't bother us in case we would want to change something there. And the same way, instead of filleting the top plate to match it, we just boolean the lever out of the plate and delete the rest. Let's make the top of the lever a bit more interesting. Ctrl R, rotate the faces, rotate, move them together. Now let's do a big fillet. Let's try to fillet the side of the screen. I think it just doesn't quite work with the geometry that we have. Let's just delete all of it. This looks cleaner, but I don't like how the fillet on top is way too sharp. Oh, let's also mirror the thing. Let's delete the fillet and make a new one, but this time a G2 and much bigger. Now it feels way more organic and pleasing to the eye. Time to do some serrations on top. Let's draw a line from the top view. While it's selected, press Shift-I and select the body to imprint it on top. Now we can use it as a base for a pipe to cut out. But I don't want it to be in the center and very deep relative to its width. This would create too much contrast. Just moving it up wouldn't create a proper offset. So I'm gonna go back, duplicate the edge to make it a sketch line. Now, because it's flat, we can offset it. Yeah, this is what I want. Now, while having it selected, let's use a rectangular array and snap it to the side axis. Now let's adjust the distance and the number of instances. Looks good, but I want the boolean pipes to be even thinner. So I alt-click on the faces to select all of the curved surfaces and offset it to make them thinner. Do a boolean operation. Select the body first, then select all the pipes and press Q. Great. Now let's check how it looks with the different matte caps and in render mode. Time to do the screen. For it, I duplicate the back face and delete all the edges that created the grooves. Select that face now. Press O to offset the edge. This looks about right. Let's extrude it in and refill it. I think since the bottom is a nice curve, G2 fillets on top would look better. So I refill it again. Chamfer, adjust the angle. Let's assign it green color. Let's fillet those edges to make it look more like plastic. Here I see the grip and the screen bodies intersect, so I'm gonna do a boolean, cutting the top out of the grip. So you can see its material has changed. It happened because the boolean split the grip into two bodies. So one got the original material and another one became a new object. Let's quickly fix that. Let's chamfer the front. Because I want the chamfer to go a certain way, I select all the edges that I need and then press T to only chamfer the needed. Nice, but I want the shape to be more interesting. Let's duplicate the chamfer on the angle. Now select the face on top and press Shift Space to make it our custom work plane and set the coordinates. Oops, it was a bit tilted, so let's use just the edge instead. Select the edge and press Shift Space. Select the face we duplicated, press Alt X to mirror, and now it will use our custom coordinates. After you are done, use the Move tool setting the pivot on the edge and move it down. Now Ctrl R the face below, and use Match Face to match the top part to the mirrored face. Time to add more details. Ctrl R on our chamfer on the lever. Now offset it out and fillet the edge in the corner. Let's maybe adjust the previous one a bit more. While it is a very normal chamfered face, and it goes on top of a very normal fillet, the intersection creates more intricate shape. So keep that in mind when adjusting it. Some more adjustments to the laser thing. Again, Ctrl R, offset, fillet, same as always. Fillet in the edges. More adjustments to the screen. Let's cut the face on top and fillet it, to have a more interesting shape transition. Fillet in the back to increase the visual separation of the details. More fillets. Let's learn how to do a fillet with a limit. Because as you can see, we need fillets only on the bottom. Start the fillet, press L and click on the edge where you want to add a limit. You can click on the blue-purple point to invert it. The other detail doesn't have that problem, so we are going to just start filleting and match the fillet. Chamfer the front part of the safety switch. T to only chamfer selected. Rotate and fillet. Don't forget to mirror both the safety and the trigger button. Let's add more details. Select the lever face. Space to create a work plane. Draw a rectangle. Extrude it in. Offset the face out and up. Adjust it until it looks good. Fillet it. Select the object. Press C for cut. Then select the face on the lever to use it as a cutter. Boolean the detail out of the lever. Offset the face lower. And let's do a big fillet. Maybe one more fillet? Nah, it only makes it worse. This one too. Mirror both. Now because we can't merge two things on the side after the mirror, it won't merge anything. So mirror both without merging and merge the lever manually with QQ. Maybe we should add some text. Spacebar on the plane you want to put the text on. F search for text. Scale it so you could see it all. Write what you want. After you're done, you will get the curves that you can freely scale and move. Put them in the appropriate spot. Now select every face there. The best way would be to just select everything and then deselect the insides. Extrude it out so it would be easier to select later. Delete all the curves. Now move the text a bit into the lever. Boolean it out of the lever. Don't forget to press T to keep the text. Let's now rotate it using something in the middle of our object as a pivot. Move it again. Because we rotated it around the center, it has the same depth. Now let's do something extra, something a bit more advanced. It should be a great way to get your first step into surfacing. You see how the fillet creates a very weird shape on the side of the grip? Let's fix that. Spacebar on the side face. Let's draw the edge like the fillet was never there. Duplicate the edge on the left. Let's eyeball where they would intersect. Draw a circle touching the left one. Now use Trim on the right toolbar to delete everything inside the circle and the circle itself. Activate point selection. Select 2 points and press L to loft them. Press Tab until it's G1 for both. We want it simple here. Adjust tension 1 for both. Make the points evenly spaced. Let's select our new curves and imprint them onto the body with Shift-I. Shift space to get out of the work plane. Let's draw one more line where the vertical one ends. Project it onto the body as well. Now Shift-X delete the face. While we used to call normal X delete, I think it's actually closer to something like dissolve, where Shift-X just evaporates the face instantly, transforming our object from a solid to a sheet. Finally, Alt-click on the edge of our hole to select it all. Use the patch from the bottom panel. If we hide our edges, you can see that it creates hard edges where we don't want them. So what we need to do is to specify the surface continuity. Let's go G1 on top and G1 on the left. I think it looks much better now. Sometimes it might look a bit weird if you have your performance settings on normal. Sometimes it looks weird even on extra detail turned on. But if there is nothing too crazy going on, it's just probably the internal polygon representation for the viewport render. And in reality, your surface is fine. Let's do the same thing on the right. Same logic, G1 where we want it to be smooth. Delete redundant topology command to clean the thing after our imprints. I guess we are done. We'll see you in the next one.